OKC's defense is literally perfect. You can't get any better than this.
No, they have the best rotation players that like all seemingly do their job at the highest level. The thing about OKC, and are they physical? Yes. Yes, they are. But when everybody on the roster is super physical, you're not going to call fouls the entire game, one. But two, The thing about OKC, too, is super impressive from a schematic standpoint. Okay, on a rare occasion that you're able to beat your man off the bounce, right? And this is maybe why I think teams, I forgot what the exact percentage was from three against OKC, you are maybe a little bit more able to, have a hot shooting night against OKC, because the way they are so gap disciplined defensively, it might lead to a above the break three or a help to help or kick out corner three. But their gap discipline and how they are always getting a swipe at the ball in the middle of the gaps, making sure that they're not just giving up middle drives. And then on the rare occasion when you do either A, split the gap, B, clear out that middle gap, or clear out the nail help, and you are able to beat your man out the bounce still, which is Caruso, J-Dub, Casey Wallace, Lou Dort. You are able to beat 4 all NBA caliber defensive players off the bounce. You're going into the brick wall that is Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein at the rim, who, by the way, since they're able to play iHeart and Chet together a lot, it allows Chet to just be this god level free safety at the rim and just protect anything in the secondary action on the backside. Yeah, you're just gonna shoot like 12% worse at the rim when Chet's protecting the rim. Yeah. So that's kind of where it starts. So you have elite point of attack options. You have elite nail help. That's where Shai also gets a lot of his steals, a lot of his deflections, his long arms, or Caruso or J-Dub. The flexibility with the defense, the amount of guys that they have in their rotation that are clear defensive positives. And then in the rare instance, and we talked about this a lot last year, where OKC doesn't do a good job of containing the drive on that possession, you're just running into a all-time level rim protector. So it's just unfair at times with this, all the time with this OKC defense.
Yeah, I feel like usually when we talk about all-time great defenses, or even just like elite defenses, there's usually something you can point to where it's like, this is where you gain the advantage. And with OKC, I just feel like there's nothing you can do consistently that's like, this is going to create an advantage. Like, forcing a switch isn't an advantage. Dribble penetration often isn't an advantage, because not only do they have like the best rim protectors, they have perfect rotation. Like they never miss a step. If they're in the gaps, you can't really create an advantage by passing over the top, because they have like 5 guys who can all give you 5 deflections a game. It's just really crazy. Like, a big screen won't create an advantage, because not only do they have perfect screen navigation, you can hedge, you can switch, you can drop, you can send the low man early, or you can stay home on shooters. There's just no way to consistently create an advantage against this OKC defense without god-level shot making. And that's why throughout last year's playoff run, teams just didn't even have like high ceiling games against them. It was just, if you made 50% of your threes, you had a good offensive game against them, and that was about it. Besides that, every team was just performing like 9 points worse, or even like 15 points worse than their expected offensive rating against this team. And then they've just leveled up. Like, Chet right now looks better than he did during the playoff run, and he's just healthy. Casey Wallace has leveled up from, okay, this is an elite defensive guard, to now we're talking about maybe the best defensive guard in the league outside of, his teammate Alex Caruso, who's just separated himself again as the best defensive guard in the league. So it's just, yeah, there's no weak link. Everyone is a strength. They can do literally everything. Like, think about it this way. If we were making a list of like the Mount Rushmore of current defensive guards, we would at least consider Caruso, Wallace, and Dort. If we were doing a Mount Rushmore of current defensive wings, we would consider J-Dub. If we were doing a Mount Rushmore of current defenders in the league, not just defensive bigs, we would probably have Chet on there. So it's just really crazy to wrap your head around how good of a defense this is. And it's not like this is some unsustainable stretch where they're going to come back to earth. Like, teams are shooting 36.5% from 3 against them. Shooting luck isn't something where they're like, oh yeah, this is going to come back to earth and they're just going to be a normal great defense. This, to me, is the best defense we've ever seen relative to league average. And I guess my question for you as a coach would be, if you were the one scouting this OKC defense going into a 7-game playoff series, what would be your first thing you point to that's like, let's try and do this?
The fact that the Thunder literally never turn the ball over, which means you won't be able to get out on them. And in a rare occasion where like off a miss, you're able to push in transition, you're not going to score anyway. Just gives them such a ridiculously high floor before you even touch the half court and side of the ball, which we already kind of talked about. But to go back to your overall question, yeah, so that's problem number one, right? You can't, it's not like getting out and playing against them in transition is a feasible option on the table. The first thing that initially comes to my mind, it's kind of tough because they play Chet and iHeart so much together. The first thing that comes to my mind is try as much as possible to keep Chet off the baseline. Immediate problem with that is OKC is probably the best team with the communication, which means that they're just going to immediately pre-switch every single action once they realize, okay, your goal is to keep Chet off the baseline. All right, so you maybe pull him or keep him off the baseline and he's guarding the opposite slot guy. All right, cool. We're just going to pre-switch every single action. And now J-Dub's guarding that 7-footer that you want to stretch the floor. And he'll do a perfectly fine job at it. That's where my mind would immediately go. Try to pull iHeart into action, but also simultaneously put Chet isolated like opposite slot or something along those lines. Against most teams that would actually work because now you have a wing or a guard as your low man or now your secondary rim protection. Nope, because it's J-Dub on the baseline who's the best rim protecting wing, at least out of like any star level player for sure. So those are the first two things that my mind immediately goes to, but that again is a automatic problem that OKC can immediately just fix because they have the best communication of any defense. They have the most versatile chess pieces of any defense. I don't know, is there something that I missed like off the top of my head that you would have went to?
Elite corner three-point shooting, I think, could be one weakness because of how aggressively they play the gaps and how aggressively they send the low man over if it is Chet. If you have two like 45% corner three-point shooters, that can be one way to exploit it, but then you have to find a way to get the ball there. And that takes like, again, elite personnel in terms of ball movement, and someone at the top of the queue is going to force those rotations. Like, I think Denver got a lot of corner threes against OKC, but it was just like the guys taking those threes weren't the guys you want. So like maybe with Cam Johnson and then the new and improved Aaron Gordon and things like that, you can get some of those corner threes up at a high clip. And Tim Hardaway Jr. actually could be like somewhat of an OKC breaker. I'm saying that in quotes because like that doesn't exist, but you know what I mean. And then the last thing would be offensive rebounding. That's the one thing I can point to that's like OKC isn't an elite rebounding team. That's the only defensive quality they're not elite at. So if there's one thing you could poke at, it'd be like, okay, Houston, we're going to put our jumbo lineup on the court. We're going to go Amen, Jabari Smith, KD, Şengün, and Adams. And the way we win on offense is going to be we're going to try and shoot over the top, and then we're just going to clean the glass. That's the only thing I can think of. But even then, it's not that easy because OKC does have great rebounders in Chet, Hartenstein, even like guys like Shai and J-Dub grab a lot of boards for their positions. So again, there's nothing easy you can point to. But the four I would say are God level shot making, try to get to the line, corner 3-point shooting, and offensive rebounding. That's about it.
But then you have to worry about the juggernaut on the other end of the floor that is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yes, you do.
Who is having one of the greatest guard seasons of all time. So
go
ahead, Tyler.
Drop the guard. Just one of the greatest seasons of all time.
One of the greatest seasons of all time.
It's just a GOAT season.
I apologize. He does get a lot of criticism for his passing ability, when in reality, he's just a perfectly fine passer. Just to add on top of the fact that he can, whether consistently or not, make all the passes that you need him to make as your offensive engine, while still never turning the ball over. The turnovers he has for the level of creation he has to do is absurd. I think you had a stat, we were talking about it off air. His turnover percentage compared to the volume and the level of creation he has to do is like relative to what like Dean Wade and off-ball scorers would get. Like
Wade,
it's insane.
Aaron Nesmith, Landry Shamet, Lowry Markkanen, like guys who only touch the ball to score or like shoot immediately are the types of guys that turn it over at the same rate as Shai relative to how much they have the ball.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. And
yeah.
To build off of that point, another point I made off air that I want to get out there is that I don't think we as like a basketball mind community, whatever you want to call it, are able to grasp the value of a guy who just never turns the ball over that scores like this. In the same way that when Steph came onto the scene as this off-ball guy in the off-ball gravity, it took us a few years to realize the value of teams break down every time he runs around a screen without the ball, and Golden State just gets a bunch of layups. That probably became the most valuable offensive quality we've ever seen, was just Steph, like, his gravity, the amount of confusion his shooting caused when he was moving around screens, and how many layups Golden State got because of that. I think a similar thing is happening with Shai's turnovers. Like, we don't realize how valuable it is for a guy to have the ball 80 times a game, give you a 70% true shooting, 35 points, and then turn it over once. Because
which is like plus 12 relative true shooting percentage, by the way.
Not only is he guaranteeing his team a shot every single time down the court, that shot is going to be an efficient shot every time down the court. Not only is that like the floor on offense, we already talked about, you're never going to be able to run out in transition because as a team, they don't turn the ball over. Like, I think when Shai's on the court, they turn it over like 10 times per 100 possessions, which would be the GOAT ball security team by like 2 whole turnovers. So you, as a team, you never have to get back against a bad pass or against a lost ball. You always get an efficient shot from one of the 5 guys on the court. And I think it's a weird thing where we don't realize how valuable Shai's offense is as a collective yet. And what you talked about, like the game-to-game consistency as a passer and missing some of those higher-level skips in some games, I think that's the only thing holding him back from like being in just like a Mount Rushmore offensive player. It's absurd what he's doing.
They have an overabundance of offensive options. Not named Shai, who's the all-time generational level half-court creator. They have secondary options as well that can all knock down, catch and shoot threes, that can all dribble, pass, shoot, make decisions off the catch.
What we're seeing right now is an all-time great player, one of the best players we've ever seen, with the best depth we've ever seen.